Marjorie Harvey's life might seem perfect, but lately, some not-so-great stuff from her past is catching up with her, even in glamorous Hollywood. Even though she's known for being Steve Harvey's wife and being stylish and nice, it looks like her past is haunting her. Every day in Hollywood seems to come with some drama, and Marjorie Harvey is in the middle of it now. It's hard to believe that this classy lady was once involved in a drug ring and was hopping from one bed to another. Stay tuned to find out more about Marjorie Harvey's past in this video. When Steve Harvey got married for the third time, he made it clear that he had found the woman he truly wanted. It seems Steve has been smitten with Marjorie since they first met many years ago. It took him 18 long years before she finally said "I do" in 2005. According to Steve, he first laid eyes on Marjorie in 1987 when she arrived late to one of his stand-up shows. From then on, he was captivated by her. When Steve first saw Marjorie, he knew she was the one for him. He vividly remembers telling her, "I don't know who you are, but I'll marry you one day." This happened in 1987. But at that time, Marjorie was already married to someone else, and Steve wasn't as famous or wealthy as he is now. All he had to offer her was his love. Despite the obstacles, Steve's love for Marjorie never wavered. After dating for a while, their communication suddenly stopped. Marjorie was living a lavish life with her first husband, Jim Townsend, who was a well-known drug dealer in Memphis, Tennessee. Jim was a powerful figure in the streets, and Marjorie was aware of the wealth that came with it. She stood by his side, and some say she was involved in his activities. Marjorie's past involvement in business activities, particularly with her former husband's dealings, could bring trouble for both her and Steve. Sources suggest that Marjorie wasn't just a housewife, she was deeply involved in her husband's business affairs, sharing in both the personal and professional aspects of his life. Unlike her former husband, Jim Townsend, Marjorie was never caught or sentenced for any wrongdoing. However, it appears that Townsend has distanced himself from her. Jim made a deal with the authorities because he didn't want the mother of his children to go to prison with him. Unfortunately, he got caught trying to buy a large amount of illegal stuff. You can't escape punishment for something like that. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison. Marjorie, probably realizing that Jim wouldn't be coming back to her, decided to divorce him after he had been in prison for 5 years. Marjorie ended up with another big-time dealer named Darnell Woods and even married him. It seems that the allure of the drug trade was strong for Marjorie, as she stuck with another dealer, hoping for the same riches. People on social media wondered if Marjorie was involved in the business herself, not just as a dealer, but also as a user. But her happiness didn't last long, as Darnell faced the same fate as her first husband, and they divorced after a few years. Throughout all this, Marjorie stayed in touch with her first ex-husband, Jim Townsend. She even took his calls from prison and visited him there. But eventually, she decided to leave that dangerous life behind. And when Steve Harvey came into her life, she found a way to move forward. Marjorie left her past behind, especially with a lot of money. Unlike Steve's tough times in the 90s, he was in a much better position when they started dating. Steve was willing to take care of Marjorie financially and was determined to make her his. He proposed to her just a couple of years later, and it felt completely natural to him to pursue her. The woman Steve dreamed of was still married to someone else. Steve divorced his wife, Mary Lee, and left her with nothing because he was focused on supporting Marjorie. Being married to two big-time dealers surely made life more luxurious. Many people find it intriguing how Marjorie moved from one man to another, looking for a better and safer life. Her financial situation was compared to being passed around like a collection plate. Some say she's not after money, but she's really good at getting what she wants. Others see their relationship as a big transaction they both agreed to. They say it'll last until Steve gets tired of paying, but it seems Steve is still deeply in love with Marjorie, even if it meant leaving his ex-wife with nothing. Mary Lee accused Steve of not just divorcing her, but also trying to silence her with a gag order. She claimed to know about Steve's affair with Marjorie, sometimes called Lady Heroin online. Mary Lee even read their private emails. What's even stranger is that Steve's own bodyguard reminded him about Marjorie's availability. Steve said one of his bodyguards, nicknamed Boomerang, stayed in touch with one of Marjorie's friends. But what Steve didn't expect was to find out that this bodyguard used to run a business connecting lonely people with high-end escorts before working as a celebrity security guard. It's not a secret that this man used to talk openly about his past, which makes me wonder about Marjorie's connection with him. Maybe that's something for another investigation. Going back to Marjorie's shady history, Steve's ex-wife, Mary Lee, believes Marjorie had ties with this bodyguard named Boomerang, especially during his shady past. It seems like Marjorie might have persuaded Boomerang to speak positively about her. In a love letter Steve wrote to Marjorie on their 15th anniversary, he mentioned a moment when Boomerang gave him his phone in 2005. Steve didn't know who was on the other end, but he recognized Marjorie's voice right away, and it made him incredibly happy. Steve seems willing to protect his wife no matter what. Marjorie's ex-husband, Jim Townsend, who recently got out of prison after serving 26 years, has some strong words about her. He doesn't hide his dislike for Marjorie, who has become a celebrity while he was in jail. Jim plans to share his side of the story in his upcoming book called Snakes in the Garden, set to release in July.